Hello and welcome to episode 7 of a Big Knit podcast. My name is Chloe and this is my podcast or vlog all about my recently finished, current, and future knitting projects, as well as occasional other interests of mine like sewing or reading. Recently I've really been into podcasts, so that's been fun. If I remember, I'll tell you what I've been listening to at the end. We'll start with what I'm wearing. So the cardigan is the Nola cardigan. The designer is Yamagar Knits, I believe. I believe she's a Japanese designer. It's got these 3 increasingly large magnolia flowers down the side and like a split, oh here we go, a split hem on the sleeve, which I think is pretty cool. And this is probably my most worn knitting project. I've only knit 2 cardigans so far. The other one, I accidentally cropped it quite a lot by like 10 centimeters because I couldn't read my measuring tape for some reason. And so this is the one that I like the fit of the best, and I wear it all the time because I like that it's like, you know, I like that it's warm but not too hot, kind of like a sweater would be, and I like that I can just pull it on and off like a jacket. So I was kind of thinking about that recently, like in the past couple weeks, and I realized that I need to make more cardigans because as much as I love my sweaters, my cardigans I think are maybe more practical, especially where we live now. We recently moved, and the city that we live in now no longer, like, we don't live in a city that's going to get minus 40 in the winter. So cardigans are really practical. And my dress, I talked about it in my last podcast as a somewhat recently finished sewing object. It's my willow dress by Cinnamon Daisy Designs. And my cat is chewing my laptop cord. Ma'am. This is the perpetrator. Cords aren't snacks. No. Yeah, so this is my willow dress by Cinnamon Daisy Designs. Like I mentioned, you know, I've had a couple issues. Like, I think I did my bust darts wrong. So next time, like, I am really new to sewing. So I have some things to learn, but I love it. It's so comfy. It fits my style really well. And yeah, I'm excited to continue sewing some of my clothes. And I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone from my last video who commented, like, giving me tips on maybe how to fix the bust darts in my future projects. And also there were some comments about how to get socks to fit well. I was talking about how, like, my recently finished socks are too big and my ones before that were too small, and it's like a bit of a Goldilocks situation. And I have yet to make the perfect pair of socks. So I will check out some of those resources. The one that I can't see at my local library, but there's tons of libraries in the city, so I might try to find that book about, like, knitting your best custom sock. And we'll go from there. So today I have 2 finished objects and only 1 active WIP. And then I'm going to talk about some of my other WIPs that I haven't talked about in a while that I am wanting to, like, pick back up again. And I think my face is getting totally blown out by the sun, so I'm just gonna fix the blind. Okay, that's better. So my first finished object that I'll talk about is the Beautiful BC Beautiful BC hat by Monika Anna. And it's looking kind of funny in this very moment because I finished it last night and then I blocked it. So I soaked it and I squished it out. It's been drying, but it's still damp. So it's looking like a little bit weird. But it's this beautiful tree design. And I used Jamieson & Smith 2-ply jumper weight yarn, and I can't remember what the actual colors were, but it's like a light gray and then sort of like a denim blue. It's really nice. It's for my boyfriend. I knit him a toque for Christmas 2 years ago, and it's kind of, you know, nearing end of life, I think. Maybe it was super wash yarn, and so it's like really stretched out, not really holding its shape. And so we picked out this one together, and I knit the bigger size. So I think it only comes in 2 sizes. It might come in 3 sizes. So I knit the size large because he's got a big noggin. And I won't put it on for you because it's still wet, and I really want to make sure that it doesn't get too stretched out while it's still damp. But I really like the tree design. And also, it's hard to tell like near the crown because of the decreases, but my color work tension, even before blocking, is like really even. And so I'm quite proud of myself because it means that I am getting better, which is great. So yeah, I don't really have a whole much else to say about it. It was enjoyable. It wasn't too difficult. I think when you start the color work pattern, it's a 14 stitch repeat, so it's like not too onerous in my opinion. that cat is Rosie. It's funny. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I quite like the finished object, and I think because of the yarn that I used, it will hopefully like be quite sturdy, I guess. And I'm hoping it'll dry today, and then my boyfriend can try it on later when he gets home from work. So that's finished object number 1. And finished object number 2 is my Nyx Sweater. So this is a sweater pattern by Rebecca Clow from the Crayabea. And I kind of cast this on just under a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, on a bit of a whim, because I had gone to like one last visit to my local yarn store, and they had the 3 colors that you've got in the yoke. The yarn is Baramu. I have a hard time pronouncing the word U, like EWE. Anyway, Baramu Pip, which I think is kind of it's not similar to Jamieson and Smith, because this is definitely like a worsted spun yarn. Like it's got the plies, versus Jamieson and Smith is like a woolen spun, and so it's different. But it's a fingering weight 2-ply yarn, and they have a bunch of really incredible colors. So this one is Eccup, E-C-C-U-P, the pickle green that I'm calling it, or maybe it's kind of like dill, I don't know, is called, I believe it's called, yeah. This one is Harwood. One of them is Harwood and the other one is Hockney, and I can't remember which one is which. I think the green is Harwood and the fuchsia is Hockney, but don't quote me on that. Yeah, so you might, if you have seen the Nyx Sweater pattern, oh my goodness, I'm gonna take my sweater off, it's a little bit warm in here. If you've seen the Nyx Sweater pattern, you might notice that my color work yoke does not look the same. And that is because I accidentally swapped my main color and my contrast color when I started the 1x1 ribbing. Which just meant that like when I was knitting, like what you see of the color, like what you see as color should actually be the main color, and up here what you see as white should actually be the color work contrast color. And I didn't realize that until I was here. So I was almost done. And I was like, there's no way that I'm gonna rip this all the way back and restart it. And so partially because that's a lot of work. And I also have no issue with how this looks. But it did mean that I had to improvise a little bit with the bottom, because what didn't want is to get to the end of the color work chart, and the end of the color work chart in the pattern is all the main color, which means that had I followed that as it was written, I would get, and it would just be a straight line of fuchsia all the way across, and then I would have to start back with my main color, and I didn't want that. So I just added I kind of created, like, I added some white in the center of the fuchsia to kind of create a bit of an upside down V. And then I didn't necessarily know that if I wanted like a straight across, so I added a few, like just 2 rows that included a little bit of 1 by 1, and I've staggered them so the middle piece comes down lower than the piece on the side. I don't know if that was necessary, but I don't know, I was feeling creative in the moment. And the other modification that I made is I added color work on the sleeve. And that's, I don't know, this was just kind of like a fun project for me, and then I kind of figured, especially like once I had already messed up the color work, I was like, well, I'm sort of making a Nyx sweater, but I'm not fully making a Nyx sweater, so I kind of feel that I can do whatever I want with it. So I added more 1 by 1 on the sleeve. And you can kind of see my color work tension does pull in a little. I did measure my gauge, and my main color is right on gauge, I believe at 20 stitches per 10 centimeters. And my 1 by 1 is 21 stitches or 20.5 stitches per 10 centimeters. So I think that's like, I'm pretty happy with that. That's pretty close. I'm still fairly new with color work. And so I think that like as I get more experience, my tension will improve. But I really like how it looks. I just think it's fun and colorful, and it used up more of the contrast yarn. I had originally bought 4 25-gram skeins of the teal and the fuchsia and 3 25-gram skeins of the pickle green. So I still have actually quite a bit. I used all of the, I was holding it double, so the pickle green I used up 2 full skeins pretty much with everything that I did here. I had maybe like 1.5 meters left on both of the balls. And with the teal and the fuchsia, I have how much do I have left? I think I used 1.4 skeins for the teal and 1.6 skeins for the fuchsia. So I still have 2 and a bit of each one. I think that math is right. I had more than enough. So that's where that is at. I also only finished this yesterday. I had a very productive knitting day. It's very exciting. Not a very productive work day, but that's okay. It's been really busy, so it is what it is. I'll put it on. I'm not gonna stand up because I don't want to. And I'm not gonna keep it on that long because I've had our electric fireplace on to try to help get this to dry. So it's a bit warm in here. And this is actually the first time that I'm putting it on since blocking. Cute. Okay, so what else did I do? So I've got the sleeve. The pattern calls for like a certain rate of decreases. I did it a little bit different. Just because I kind of find that with Rebecca's patterns, sometimes the sleeves fit a little bit tighter than I would like them to. And so instead of doing the recommended rate of decrease, I just did it every 5 rounds, where then I would do a decrease at the start and at the end of the round. And then I stopped doing decreases for the color work. I knit this straight, so it's a little bit like a balloon sleeve, which is exactly, oh, it looks so cute. It's exactly what I wanted. And then I knit a little bit more in the main color, just straight, and then I did a round of rapid decreasing. And I didn't want it to be too small, and I think I like pretty much nailed it. That's exactly what I wanted. So I did knit one, knit two together, knit one, knit together, all the way around. So decreasing, I guess that makes decreasing the sleeves by a third. Yeah, I think that's right. And then I did 12 rounds of 1x1 ribbing, and I did my first ever successful tubular bind off, which is very, 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 very exciting for me. And I'm looking at my cat. She's gonna chew that cord. Ariel, Ariel, hey, please don't. You're gonna do it. Yeah, okay, 1 second. Okay, while I'm standing. So this is how it fits. This is my first ever circular yoke sweater. And I've always been a little apprehensive of circular yoke sweaters. And I kind of think that maybe not the problem. I feel that this also does the thing that I don't really like in circular yoke sweaters, where it's like, I think you might know what I'm talking about. If you know, you know. Like, it does the thing where it just feels like it hangs off of my body because it's equally increased around the yoke. And I also then feel like maybe the sleeve could have been smaller to start, like have it less stitches. But maybe it's also that I should be picking a smaller size for circular yoke sweaters rather than aiming for something with such a large positive ease. And then if I want more positive ease, I could maybe cast on more stitches under the sleeves rather than having it distributed on the yoke, if that makes sense. So maybe next time I will try that. But overall, I'm really happy. Oh yeah, my tubular bind off. Sorry, I got distracted by the cat. So I might just take it off and show you. I didn't do it along the bottom because that's, a lot of stitches, and then if it doesn't work out, then to have to undo it, I wasn't into that. But I decided that I was gonna try. I haven't done it in a while. The last time I did it, it just didn't go very well. And it looks so good. It's so tidy. Hang on, there we go, right there. It looks so good. And what I found is that the technique that I use, because I don't like doing it when it's all on one cable, because I don't like how fiddly it is. So what I do is I do a round where I'm not knitting, and I'm just like, I've got my one needle with all of my stitches in my one hand, and then in my other hand I have 2 needles, and I'm putting all of my knit stitches onto one and all of my purl stitches onto the other. So it's kind of splitting it. And then that allows me to just essentially do like a regular Kitchener stitch, which is essentially just what tubular bind off is. But because I have it on 2 needles, then I can just do a Kitchener stitch like normal. And I did try to do that on a previous sweater, and I got kind of like confused, not confused, but I think maybe I put it down and I came back to it, and then there was an issue there where I was then out of order, and also I pulled it way too tight. So this one, I made like a really conscious effort to not do that, and it's perfect. And so I think I might be a convert. I'm converted. I'm gonna do it again with my next sweater, and I'm gonna try it next time on the body, and if it goes well, then maybe that's the moving forward. What else? Oh, the main color. So the contrast color is Bahram U Pip. The main color is Brook Farm Fingering. Yeah, Brook Farm Fingering, and also BC Garn Bio Shetland. So it's just 2 fingering weight yarns, and I've held them together. And the only real reason as to why it's 2 different yarns held together was because my local yarn store at the time didn't have enough of either one of them. And they were both the same color. Like, it's like a natural So that's that. I am really happy with my tension to color work. Like I said, it's my first like real, well, no, it's not my first color work sweater, but it's my first circular yoke. And I'm really pleased with how it turned out. It's supposed to be beautiful out today. I'm like, please get cold. I would like to wear it. So yeah, that's that. I don't have anything to say about that. Okay, so those are my 2 finished objects. I finished them both last night because I was like, I was so close, and then I finished tucking in the ends of the sweater kind of like midday, and I started working on the toque, and it got to probably like 8 p.m. and I only had maybe 15 rows of color work left, and I was like, oh yeah, this is happening. So it kind of felt nice to have 2 finished objects in one day. Okay, moving on to my 1 active WIP. And you know, same disclaimer as last time, Mom, it's your Christmas present. So if you don't want to see it, maybe just skip forward. Although she has seen it. We went for dinner last weekend and she was like, I saw my scarf, and I was like, you did? She's like, yeah, it was on your video. And I was like, yeah, but I said, you know, don't keep watching, Mom. And she's like, oh, I missed that part. I guess what she was doing was she was skipping forward through the video, trying to find cat content. And so she missed the part where I was like, this is for you, Mom, so please don't watch it. So that's on her. I think that's on her. So this is my mom's Christmas present. It is the Rose Garden Wrap by Lisa Hannes. And the yarns are Laxton's Sheep Soft DK in the color Aesgarth, and that yarn Habit Cloud Sari in the color Smoke. And it's such a good match. I really like it. It's so squishy, and it's gonna be so soft. And I think that the Laxton's Sheep Soft DK is gonna soften more when I block it. I'm really happy with how it's turning out. There we go. Oh yeah. Oh, so good. I've modified the pattern a little bit. The pattern as written is like quite large, and my mom is quite a petite lady. And so the increases are kind of broken up, where it's like there's an initial increase section, which is where the lace and cabling starts here, and then you move into a section that increases, I think it's like 6 stitches for the whole entire repeat, and you do the repeat 4 times. And so what I did is I did the first section as written, and then the second section I repeated it 3 times instead of 4, so it's going to be a bit of a shorter shawl or shorter wrap. And also on the 3rd time I didn't do any increases, so because I didn't, A, I'm pretty sure I'm not on gauge, and B, it's garter stitch, so it's gonna, and it's lace and cable, so it's still gonna grow widthwise and lengthwise quite a lot, and I just didn't want it to be too big. And yeah, so that's where we're at. I have finished those increase sections. So like I said, I did 3 of them, and I only did the increases for the first 2, and then the 3rd one I just worked straight without doing the increases. And then there's a middle section, which I've done, and then you start the decrease section. So I've just finished my first go through of the decrease chart, where I was knitting it, but then to match the other side I didn't do any decreases. So all I have to do, oh, it's so nice. All I have to do is work that section twice more where I do the decreases as written, and then I do kind of like the finishing off part, and then some ribbing, and then I'm done. And so this is my main WIP at the moment. I mean, I say at the moment. It's been my main WIP this morning. The other days I was working on the sweater and the toque. And it's going really quickly. It's quite nice and intuitive to knit up, and I think it's so beautiful. And so I like kind of seeing it grow. And my plan, not that really my knitting plans end up working out the way that I think they're going to, but my hope is that I will finish this maybe in the next week, because I'm intending to work on this pretty much monogamously over the next week, and then that'll be one of my Christmas presents that is done. But it won't be a surprise because she's seen it already. And yeah, I'm just about ready to do the thing. To attach a new ball of the Sheep Soft, and then this is my second ball of Sari. So I got to almost the halfway point with my first ball of Sari. This is my second ball of Sari, and then I have one more, and so I am going to have more than enough, which is nice. Okay. Oh, I brought my swatch out because there was actually something else I wanted to say about the sweater. In last week's video, I was saying that, as per usual, I did not do a gauge swatch, but I was concerned about color bleeding. And I was like, oh, like I'll probably just go get a color catcher to use for the blocking. And then I was like, well, why don't I just do like a little tiny gauge swatch, which I did. And I blocked it with soap, and it did not bleed at all, which I was shocked. Like the water wasn't even pink. I used all three colors just to make sure, but the fuchsia was the one where I was like, this is gonna bleed everywhere. It didn't. So in terms of like enjoyability to knit with and color retention, this yarn gets full marks from me, and then in the future I'll have to report back on what it's like to wear. But that was very, very exciting. So I didn't have to go get a color catcher. Okay. So now what I have, that was my one active WIP, and I do have a bunch of other WIPs. And I am trying to get down my WIP collection, just because like there's things in here that I'm really excited to wear, and like it's just so gratifying when you have new things. Like this Nyx sweater is my first garment finished object since I finished my Nola cardigan, I think in May. Because I had one garment finished object that wasn't even for me, and also the sizing with that one was all messed up. So I just want to I'm in the groove now, you know? I'm finishing some WIPs. It's very exciting. So I was trying to think of like a fun name to call it, and I was like, work through it winter. I was like, no, we're not in winter yet. So it's just gonna be me over the next, we've got probably 6 or 7 weeks left in the year. My hope is that all of my current WIPs that you'll see are either completed or frogged if I'm not gonna continue. So here we go. This is my Calm Down Cardigan by Lily Kate France. And it's kind of funny because I have done most of the knitting for this, right? Like I've knit the whole entire body, and it's gonna look horrendous right now because I'm working on the button band. The pattern has you do the button band before doing the sleeves, I guess, to make sure that the sleeves are gonna fit well when you do it. But someone's going down the stairs. So the body is done. It's got the sleeve hole here, and this is the front. And so I've picked up the button band and I've started working the button band on this side. And I've gotten to the point where it's like the first marker was there, and now I have to do some short rows in the button band, and I was like, I don't want to do that, and so I put it down and I haven't picked it back up. So But you know, going back to what I was talking about before, where it's like I really want more cardigans, this is gonna be my next object after the wrap that I am kind of working on. And I might even do it at the same time because it's like the sleeves will be all stockinette. So I think what I'm gonna do is that I'll pick up the sleeve and I'll kind of get it going, and then I can work on that during like TV time or something like that, where I am unable to look at the chart for the wrap. That's my plan. Yeah, it's funny. There's so many stitches. The button band's gonna take 1,000 years. It's a double knit button band. And yeah, I guess there's points where you have to do shaping in the button band. So it's like some short rows to help shape the little notch in the bottom of the cardigan, because the two sides of the cardigan kind of like line up, and then it kind of opens like a little tiny V right there at the bottom, which I think is like I think it's a really cute detail, and it's one of the reasons why I picked it. But to do a whole button band and make buttonholes, and it's double knit, it just feels quite onerous. So that's why I haven't picked it up. But I'm ready. I'm ready to come back to it. So this is WIP number 1. For this one, I'm making a size 5, and I'm also using Laxton's Sheep Soft DK. This one's in the color Leyburn. And when I started, I was like, I do not have enough yarn. So I ordered, because it was stash yarn, I think I had 5 skeins, which was something like, whatever, it doesn't even matter. But I was like, I'm gonna need 2 more skeins. But I've done the body, so I have 2 sleeves and a button band, and I feel like I'm not even halfway through the yarn that I have. So I was like, did I really need more? I know that like the sleeves are quite large, and so that'll be lots of yarn there, and also the button band is double knit, so that's probably gonna take lots of yarn. But I'm gonna be a little sad if I get to the end and then I have these 2 skeins that I bought because I thought I needed them, but then it turns out I didn't even need them. So that's the next one, and I will be finishing this. There is at least one WIP in here that I'm not gonna finish. This is not one of them. I'm really excited for that one. Okay, WIP number 2 is my Aiode sweater. This one is by Sari Nordlund. It's in her book Softly Timeless Knits. I am knitting it in Quince & Co. Lark in the color Gingerbread, and I haven't worked on it since the last time I showed it, which was last podcast. So I've knit the back panel, I've worked part of the front panel, and I've joined in for the front of the neck there, and now I'm just knitting to the correct length before I'll join under the sleeves. And this one I haven't worked on because I've kind of realized that maybe 1 cable pattern at a time is the maximum. Just because you have to, like, I need to be able to like sit down and like focus. So for me, it's not TV knitting, and it's not like work meeting knitting. It's like sit and listen to an audiobook knitting. And I just wanted to prioritize the wrap so that it's done for Christmas for my mom. But this is another one. I will be finishing it. I am obsessed with it. It is so beautiful. I'll show you the back, just in case you haven't seen it already. Yeah, it's just delicious. I'm so excited. And yeah, for this one, I'm making a size 6. I obviously still have quite a lot of knitting left to do on it. I want to make this one slightly cropped in the pattern, I believe, and like the way that it's on the pattern page. It comes all the way down to like her hips. And for me, I want this, like I specifically want it to go on top of this dress. And so I'm gonna do it like a bit more cropped. And I think this is gonna be the one like this will be the cable pattern that I'm gonna pick up once my mom's wrap is done, because I desperately want it. Yeah, it's gonna be so nice. Okay, Next, we have, it's a self-drafted broken rib sweater. And this one is going to be for my boyfriend. I tried knitting him a sweater in the summer, like in August, and I wanted to finish it for our anniversary in September. And then this was the one that I finished it, and then it was way too small. Part of that was I think a gauge issue for sure, and then part of it was I think it shrunk in the blocking process. So this is the sweater that I'm working on in replacement of that. So it's a 4x2 broken rib. And this time I'm doing a raglan because I think raglans are probably going to be a bit more forgiving in terms of size. The yarn I'm using is Drops Soft Tweed in the color Cobblestone. And this one I believe has a little bit of nylon in it, or it might be viscose. Let me check. Yeah, 50% wool, 25% alpaca, 25% rayon / viscose. So I'm hoping that means that like it might not need to be like so pampered, I guess. Like I think he's a bit of a, like he's very knit worthy, but I think he's put my wool socks through the wash before. And so I think maybe having something that isn't quite as delicate will be good. Still no machine wash, but I think it just might be like a bit more resilient to kind of like biking, and if he wears it to work, he works in maintenance. So just maybe a bit more durable, I think is what I want to say. So yeah, this one is self-drafted, and I'm making notes on how I'm doing it, just in case I want to refer to it in the future and make it again. I had a hard time finding a broken rib sweater that was exactly what I wanted on Ravelry. I got the inspiration from one that I believe is either published from like Brooklyn Tweed or Drops, and I can't remember, but it's like a, you know, manufacturer of yarn, and they have one, and I bought it. And then when I bought it, I realized it was knit from bottom up, and it was also seamed, and I was like, that's not going to work because I need to properly tell the size. So I was like, you know what? I was like, broken rib stitch is not difficult, so I'm just going to do it on my own. Yeah. So I don't know if that one will be done before Christmas. The hope was that maybe it would be his like a Christmas present for him, but I just made him the toque, and he got my last pair of socks because they were too big for me, and so I don't know that I'm ready to like dedicate hours and hours at this very moment to finishing that before Christmas. Like I'm not gonna let it sit for months and months, but I just kind of want to work on things for me. I'm a very selfish knitter. Okay, so those are all the WIPs that I'm 100% certain I'm going to continue with. The next two are WIPs that I'm either going to frog or I may frog. This is the start of my Porcelain Sweater, and this is by I think it's Lene, Holme, Samsoe, like from Lene, I believe. And I mean the color work pattern is just stunning. I'll just spread this out a little. Oh, it's so nice. And I am knitting this in Juniper Moon Farms Patagonia Organic Merino. There we go. In the colors Rust and Ivory. It is I believe it's woolen spun. It's like very lofty. And I've heard that this blooms, like, I don't know how close I can get without losing focus, but it's a little bit gappy. Hang on, maybe this will be better. It's a little bit gappy, especially in the color work portions, but even up here, I don't think you can see it. But I think it blooms, and so that may not be a problem. The thing that I'm unsure about, and I just haven't had time to go back and double check what my gauge is that I think my gauge is off. I believe that this pattern calls for a 21 stitch gauge. And when I checked here, I think I was 24 stitch gauge. And so what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just pause on it for a second. I'm gonna knit a swatch and I'm gonna block it. I'm gonna see if my gauge grows when it's blocked, because I think it might, and then decide. It's really beautiful, but I think that we're already at the limit of what this yarn could be knit at. I think if I go bigger, like with bigger needles to hit that 21 stitch gauge pre-blocking, it's gonna be way too gappy. And I'm already making the largest size, and so to knit a bigger size to kind of compensate for the fact that my gauge is too tight isn't an option. Which is another great selling point of size inclusive patterns, is that there's options. This one doesn't have that option. So we'll see. I may frog it, I may not. I haven't decided yet. It depends a bit on what happens with my gauge swatch when I get there. But I just did 3 color work patterns back to back. I did mittens, the toque, and the sweater. So I think I might just put this on hold until I can finish my Aiode sweater and my Calm Down cardigan, and then I will revisit. Okay, last one. You haven't seen this one in a while. I was doing a test knit. It was going really well. Loving the sweater. It's stunning. And then I realized that my gauge was way, way off. And I had also knit in the test knit. I had picked like quite a large size. Like I probably, like in her patterns, I generally choose like the 5 or 6. I think I applied for the size 8 or maybe the size 7. Because I was like, I want it to be massive. And I then, because I'm so used to, I think, knitting the one size, is I knit a size 5. Which in theory would fit me, but because my gauge is off, it fits, it goes on, but it's not the fit that I want, and I question whether I would even wear it. The sun is making it blow out a little, but so this is the Kip Sweater by Rebecca Clow from the Crayabea. It was released in October, I think, or maybe end of September. I obviously didn't finish, so I kind of feel bad about that. It's the only time I haven't finished a test knit by the deadline, but I just didn't know what to do with it. And the yarn is stunning. It is Durure Natura Elise in the color Forest. It's like this really beautiful, like it's exactly what I think of when I think of like a forest green. This is what it is. And so I wasn't really sure what I was gonna do, because I probably need 8 centimeters on this sleeve and then the ribbing, and then I need this sleeve and then I'm done. And so I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm so close to being done. Like you should just finish it, you know? But then if it's like, I'm not gonna wear it because it doesn't fit me the way that I want it to. And like, it's like 0 ease is what I get essentially with this. And so even like 8 centimeters of ease I think would be totally doable with this pattern, but this is like, it's just not, it's not what I want. And so this one I'm gonna frog, which breaks my heart, because this stitch pattern is a 44 row gauge per 10 centimeters because the pattern of the herringbone is made with slip stitches. Oh yeah, there you go. I think you can see it. And so it just makes it like very vertically dense, I guess is maybe the way that I would say that. And so to rip it all back is so sad. But it's a really nice yarn, and I think like, because also I did a mid-project block because I was like, can I get to where I need to be for this to fit adequately, that I will actually wear it? And the answer is no. But in that process, I stretch this sweater to the absolute limit. And so what I need to do if I want to reclaim the yarn is I think I need to rip it all out, put it back into hanks and soak it so that the wool kind of returns to where it's supposed to be. And I'm like, wow, that's gonna be a lot of work. So I haven't done it yet, but I think that's what I'm gonna do. Because the yarn is just so beautiful. And I think it's gonna be like, I think this type of yarn, like the woolen spun, makes garments that like really like hold up to the test of time. And it would be a shame to just like not reclaim it, you know? And it would also be very wasteful. So I'm not gonna do that. This is getting frogged. I don't know if I have it in me to attempt the Kip sweater again with this yarn. I think what I might do is pick something else. I have seen that people have used this yarn for a Sari Nordlund pattern called like the Vivian sweater or the Vivian pullover, and that looks quite pretty. And so I think maybe that might be what I would attempt, but that is so far down the line. So I think like my one goal is not to restart a project with this yarn by the end of the year. It's just to frog it and get the yarn ready for the next project, whenever that may be. Okay, so that is all of my finished objects, active WIPs, and soon to be active WIPs / frogging. And that is going to be mostly what I'm working on for the rest of the year. The only exception to that is I want to take part in the Andrea Mowry sock knit along that they're doing. For them, it's a long weekend. I think it's Thanksgiving weekend. She released a pattern called the Oxbow socks. I really like it. And I have this yarn and I was like, I'm gonna do it. So I just skeined it up yesterday. It is from, I believe it's like the Wanderer and Her Wool, I believe is the business name. I think she's based in Alaska. I got hit with some sort of targeted ad on Instagram, and she was doing a like a September sock bundle, and I was like, oh, and you know, so yeah, she was doing a September sock bundle, and she had kind of like the color story that she was following, and I was like, love it. So I bought it. That's what happened. And when I got it, I loved this one. Like, I'm hoping you can see, it's mostly shades of green, but it's got like a little bit of yellow, a little bit of rust, and a little bit of blue. And to me, I'm like, yes, this is like very fall. And then this one, I was like, what the heck is this? I was like, this is not a tumnel. And I like pulled it out of the package, and my boyfriend was there, and I was looking at it, and I was like, maybe it was when he got home from work or something, and I was like, I love this one. It's so pretty. And then I like the mini skein, I was like, but what? I was like, and I was holding them up together, and I was like, does this look autumnal to you? Just like, you know, like it's still pretty, but like for me, I was like, this doesn't go together. And as I'm holding them up, all like our old window that looking into our backyard was like behind it, and I can see in the backyard like our mountain ash trees, which had like green leaves and then these like rust red berries, and then blue sky, and then we also had poplar trees in our backyard, and the trees of the poplar were this exact yellow, and I'm holding them up being like, does this look autumnal to you? As pretty much like all of these colors are just directly through my back window, and I was like, never mind. And so I've decided that I will use them together, even though I didn't initially like them together very much, as almost like a little like memento, like my Prince George fall socks. So that's what I'm gonna do with these. I guess the idea of the knit along is that you knit a pair of socks from start to finish in one weekend. Will I do that? I don't know, but I really want to knit the socks. So I'm just gonna I'm gonna start them along with everybody else, and we'll see if I finish, and if not, that's fine. The other WIP is soon to be cast on. I signed up for another test knit like an absolute goober. No more test knits. But I saw it and I was like, oh. So what I signed up for, I really only test knit for one designer. So Rebecca Clow is releasing, she named it the Nyx Sweater, and it's intended to be, you can use Advent for it, or you cannot use Advent for it. I'm using Advent for it. And this is gonna be my main color. So it's Sunday Morning DK from Sonder Yarn Co. And the color, I think, is Wanderlust. Yeah. And it's, again, like quite a foresty green. I've had it in stash for a while. I was gonna make something else with it, but I was like, you know what, like if I ever get to that thing that I was gonna make with it, I can just buy more, you know? I'd rather use this for the sweater. But because it's Advent, I'm not gonna be showing it in a video until the new year, or until after Christmas, whichever kind of comes first for the next video, just because I'm gonna use Advent and I don't want to ruin the colors for anybody who might have ordered the same one as I did. But I'm really excited. So the one that I got is from Elliot and May, and it's a non-superwash BFL fingering weight Advent, and I got it this week. And let me tell you, like, the descent into chaos, hours. Because I was like, okay, well, I can't cast it on right now, so I'm not gonna open any of them. Partially because, so what I was thinking was that I was gonna open the first two and the last two just to make sure that my main color would work well with them, because that, like, the Nyx Sweater, you've got the neckline, and then it's essentially like 1x1 ribbing in the circular yoke, and there's enough stripes there for an Advent. But then, so you're not really you don't use your main color midway through, so the only thing you have to really worry about is that the top colors go with this and the bottom colors go with this. So at first that's what I was gonna do. And then I was like, well, some Advents do fades, where it's like colors are kind of next to each other, and because it's 1x1 ribbing, I want there to be enough contrast to kind of like appreciate that. And so then what I decided is that I would open them all, and I would likely be changing the order. But since I was like, I can't even do this now, like I need to focus, I want to get my Nyx Sweater done, I want to get the toque done, and I think I'm gonna get myself to at least finish the wrap before I allow myself to start on this one. I was like, don't open it now, you know, just wait, you know, it's like a little surprise, even though you're not going to do it as an Advent where you open every day. I was like, it'll still be fun. And sorry, the reason why I'm not doing it as an everyday is because if I wanted to change the colors, like the order of the colors, I would have to wait until December 25th to start the sweater, and then I think that would only leave me 5 weeks to knit it. And I was like, I think I could do it, I just don't want to. So that's why I'm doing it this way. But yeah, so it took me, I was like looking at it, and I was like, oh, it's so pretty. And like looking at all of the little packages. So I opened one, and I was like, ooh, it's so nice. And then very rapidly I opened the rest of them, and my boyfriend's like, oh my God. And I was like, sorry. No self-control. It was ridiculous. So that is what is happening. Those are my projects. I'm really excited. I'm hoping that I can, like, I really want to finish my Calm Down cardigan and my Aiode sweater along with the wrap by the end of the calendar year. It might be doable, it might not be doable, I'm not sure, but I'm excited about it. I don't really have any like exciting life updates for this video. It's only been 2 weeks since I last filmed, and nothing has happened really. I mean, well, my boyfriend got a job, very exciting. He had to quit his job when we moved, and so that was kind of like the last thing that was outstanding, was like he wanted to needed to find a job down here, so he did. And what else? That's it. All the cats are sleeping right now. I think at this point they've all adjusted to condo life, which is really exciting. I've been making some new friends, which is exciting. One of the local yarn stores has knit nights at one of the breweries, I think, or one of the breweries or a restaurant. So I think maybe at the end of this month I might go. Scary. In terms of what I've been reading or listening to, there's a podcast that I really like called The Financial Feminist, and it's run by this woman, Tori, and she is very much like, she's like a financial expert in terms of, you know, how to create budgets, how to, you know, invest or save or whatever. But I like her approach in that it's not at all restrictive to the things that you want to spend money on daily, which I like. But she recently wrote a book, and so I listened to the audiobook for that, and I really enjoyed it. And I think everyone should read it. It was really, really good. Even if you're not super into like finance or stuff like that, I think it has like really helpful, actionable tips for things like investing or budgeting, or how you even determine what you want to spend your money on, which I think is pretty cool. So I listened to that, and then I have been listening, because I haven't listened to her podcast in a while. I listened to the first 2 seasons that she did, and I loved them. They were incredible. She does like the most amazing interviews, and I just, so good. So then I started listening to some of her newer episodes as well, and it's just as good as I remember. So that's what I've been listening to. I would highly recommend. I've enjoyed it. There is another book that I read, but I can't remember what it is. So either wasn't that good, or I've just completely forgotten. That's fine. That is all for me. If you made it this far and listened to my rambling, thanks so much. Feel free to like and subscribe if you want to, and if not, that's totally fine. And so far, I'm pretty sure that a filming schedule every 2 weeks is gonna work really well. So I'm excited for that. And yeah, have a great day, have a great weekend. Today is Friday for me, but maybe by the time this is out, it won't be Friday anymore. So yeah, bye.